Hello and welcome to another Pye and Smith production. We are here to preview day 8 of the PDC World Championships, where we are returning to the evening and afternoon sessions. And there is 8 games tomorrow, 4 in the afternoon, 4 in the evening, obviously. 8 seeds come into play. This is round 2. 8 seeds come into play. And there are 7 round 1 winners taking on those 8 seeds, plus someone who had a bye. Called Cameron Carillison from South Africa. He is the biggest outsider of the day tomorrow. He was the outsider to win his first round game that didn't take place, so he can count himself very lucky to be in round 2. He'll be taking on Danny Knopper. Danny Knopper's the shortest price favourite of the day at 1-12. So that's enough said about that one. I will pass you over to the main man, Matt Pieman Hill, to talk firstly about Brendan Dolan against Edward Folkes, where I made a prediction and it turned out I was right.
Yeah, you were right. You said that Edward Shuji Folkes wouldn't go off 2-1, and sure enough, he hasn't. He's actually drifted.
Yeah, so absolutely.
It's got to go off. Got to go off 11-5 in some places. Yeah. But no, in that is perhaps a discrepancy. Some places have actually trimmed him a little bit. It'd be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if late money comes for Folkes, because you'll have a lot of people who won't be looking at the match until it's the next match along, and you inevitably always get a little bit of a market move just before the off. I think he is the one out of the two that you would want to be with at the prices, certainly. Naturally, Brendan Dolan, been there, done it. He's won on that stage many times, but he's not one of the seeds that you would be going out of your way to avoid. And I do think Folkes' performance, whilst we have no evidence to show that he's going to back it up, we could only judge him on what we've seen, and he looked very comfortable. I would just say there's a difference between having no expectations on you and then having expectations on you to replicate a performance. I've heard a couple of the more senior players in their post-match interviews using him as an example of, you can't underestimate anyone at the World Championships. It was a terrific performance, this and that. There's a little bit of buzz generated around him. I just wonder whether he's going to feel that expectation a little bit. But I'd see no reason why you can't take Brendan Dolan at least close. Whether he gets over the line, I'm not sure, but this is a game I could see going the full 5 sets, to be honest.
Yep, and it'll be a decent price to go to full 5 sets. So Fuchs at the moment is best price 11-5, which is a bit more than 2-1, and Brendan Dolan is 4-9. I was just looking then, Pieman, to be honest. Folkes plus 1.5 on the handicap is 5-6. I think that's very fair to win.
I think you can get 2-1 over 2-1 about the 5 sets. So yeah, that's probably how I would play it if I was playing it.
Yeah, so that's how we'll be looking at game 1 tomorrow. Game 2 in the afternoon session tomorrow is Joe Cullen against Wayne Jones. I think this is pretty straightforward in my opinion, to be honest, Pieman. Joe Cullen, sometimes unlucky in big tournaments, as we've alluded to in our previous previews. Wayne Jones averaged 86 in his first round game. That won't be good enough to win this game or any round 2 game, to be honest. So that's why Joe Cullen is about a 1-3 favourite, and I think he'll win with a bit of ease.
I wouldn't disagree too much. We did discuss yesterday about the possibility of players who've already played a match in round 1 possibly feeling a little bit more comfortable on the stage. We've seen a lot of 3-1s in round 2 so far. I personally think this could be another 3-1. I think Wayne Jones was a little bit disappointed with his performance, but I actually thought he played pretty well. Nothing spectacular, as you say, probably not enough to beat Joe Cullen or seriously worry him, but he could probably hold his throw for a set. I would probably play the 3-1. I think that's probably around the 2-1, 9-4 mark.
Yeah, and then the third game is also has a bit of a 3-1 feel about it for me. Simon Whitlock, who we know has had a decent year, particularly in big tournaments, particularly beating Van Gerwen 3 times, but not following up on either occasion. But in his first game of this tournament, he does not take on anyone of the caliber of Michael Van Gerwen. He takes on Darius Labanauskis, who does know his way around the Ali Pali, to be fair, the Lithuanian. Averaged 96 against a Chinese qualifier in the first round. Looked obviously comfortable, and he will definitely put up a fight against Whitlock. But I just think Whitlock, the post-COVID, has just looked very comfortable with his game, his practicing criteria, his confidence, etc. I'll be looking at Whitlock to get this job done either 3-1 or 3-0, to be honest.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a game for me to go mad on. Personally, I just think that Simon Whitlock Obviously he should win this game. He's a worthy favourite, but Labanowskis looked in really good order in the first round, I thought. Not seriously pressured, as you say, but we did say yesterday, Kim Huybrechts, he looked really good, but he wasn't seriously pressured, and he's replicated that performance in the second round. So no reason why Labanowskis can't do that. Simon Whitlock's had a fantastic couple of months, as you alluded to quite rightly. And you would think if he could bring sort of 80% of his game from recent months, that should be enough against Darius. But yeah, with Whitlock, I've said it in a few videos, I worry about him in the early rounds more than I do in the later rounds. I would like him to have a bit of a test here and come through it. I think it would do his chances of going deep in this tournament absolutely no harm to have a bit of a test. And I think he'll get it from Labanowskis. But yeah, maybe Whitlock to edge that one.
Yeah, and the final game of the afternoon, I think we've gone with the favourites so far, but the final game of the afternoon, I wouldn't go with the favourite. I think Adrian Lewis at around 1-3 is too short to beat Danny Baggish. He might well beat Danny Baggish, but I wouldn't be backing him at 1-3. I wouldn't be that confident of backing him at 1-3. As we said the other day in our review video, Baggish beat Heta. He's just going to play his game, Baggish. He's not going to be interested in what Adrian Lewis is doing, or anyone else for that matter. I think the sterile environment, if you like, with no crowd, suits Baggish. He's just going to play his game. He's going to hit the odd 180 and he's going to take out the odd finish. He's not going to threaten to win this tournament, but he might threaten to win this match, in my opinion, Pimer.
Well, I can understand why Danny Baggish had his supporters for this game. I was one of his supporters against Heta. I thought it would give him a real game, and it turned out he did. One thing I would say, I think this match is totally dependent on Adrian Lewis, to be honest. Yes. And we've seen Adrian Lewis fail to turn up on numerous occasions in recent years. But I mean, a lot of people have alluded to the fact that this is a decent part of the draw for Adrian Lewis to potentially put a run together. A lot of good players, but not many great players in there, reliable players. So he'll be relishing this chance to have a run in the tournament. I personally think he will get past Danny Baggish, but I can totally understand why you would have a concern about his price. 1-3, it is very short. It's the price of somebody who it suggests it's the price of someone who's reliable, and Adrian Lewis has been anything but reliable, to be honest, recently. So you'd have to say probably leaning towards Lewis, but not want to get too involved in.
Yeah, as you say, Pineman, I would like to see Lewis do well in this tournament. It's an open part of the draw. Glenn Durant, an underform, an out of form, should I say, Glenn Durant awaits in the third round. And I would like to see Adrian Lewis do it as much as anyone else, really. But as we always come back to on this channel, everything is about price. And Adrian Lewis at 1-3 isn't reliable enough in 2020 to be back in at 1-3, and that's the basis of our analysis, really. So
yeah, wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, that concludes the afternoon session tomorrow, and then into the evening. Pineman, we just earlier touched on Danny Knopper. Again, not the most reliable player in the world, but he's 1-12 to beat Cameron Carillison, who got a bye in the first round. Again, Carillison's 11-1. That's probably going to be the biggest price of any player in the second round as a whole. So we'll scoot past that one and then straight on to Devin Peterson against Steve Lennon. Devin Peterson's had the best season of his career. I think there's pretty much no doubt about that. I said in our preview videos that I thought he was the most wrong price of any competitor in the whole tournament. He went off around the 33-1 mark. I thought that was too short. I thought it should have been double that price at least. I could well be proved wrong. And Steve Lennon is in the opposite corner in that game. And I know Lennon impressed you in the opening round, Pineman.
Well, he did. He averaged in the high 90s. It was a very comfortable win for him. And I think he'll fancy his chances of causing Peterson problems. Devin Peterson has had a fantastic year. There's no doubt about it. And I do see where you're coming from with his price being short. But he's short because he's shown he's capable of beating these bigger players. It could be a game like this where he slips up, Peterson. I personally think he might just have a little bit too much scoring for Steve Lennon. I could well be wrong there because the Irishman did impress me in his first game, but there's a big difference between playing Daniel Larsson and Devin Peterson, certainly on recent form. I think Peterson has a little bit too much for Steve Lennon, but if the Irishman plays well, this will be one of the tougher tests that Peterson could have had in the second round.
Yeah, and Peterson, as a matter of fact, is a similar price, is the same price, should I say, as Adrian Lewis. Now, Steve Lennon's probably a little bit better than Danny Baggish, and Devin Peterson at the moment is probably a bit better than Adrian Lewis. So it's not a direct comparison, but I think personally I would rather back Steve Lennon than Adrian Lewis at the prices, but that's not saying that I'm going to. So yeah, the 180 lines might be of interest in that game. I'm struggling to find them off the top of my head. So, but yeah, Devin Peterson has been one of the most improved 180 scorers. Easily the most improved 180 scorer in the whole tour this year, and he's near the top, if not at the top of the 180 chart. So look out for Devin Peterson on the 180s. Peterson, like I say, is 1-3 to win the game. The third game on the evening session on day 8 is, well, I think we will both agree, Pyman is the best game of the day, and probably the best tie of the whole of round 2. It's Rob Cross, the 2019, if I'm right, 2018 or 2019 world champion. Rob Cross takes on Dirk Van Duijvenbode. Big Dirk had to come from 2-0 up against Bradley Brooks in the first round. When the penny dropped, if you like, when he was 2-0 down, he brought it back, and he looked like a good player that he has proven to be this season. Towards the back end of that game, he won't be able to have an off couple of sets like he did against Brooks, that is for sure, although Brooks was playing really well, because Cross could well punish him. But as we've mentioned about Cross, he has struggled for form. Basically, Rob Cross has struggled for form since he won the World Championships. To be honest, he has won a major since then, but 2020 hasn't been too kind to Cross. He is here as the 5th ranked player, so he's there for a reason on the PDC Order of Merit, and fair play to him. But the bookies have got this as a coin toss game, Pyman. Who would you be with?
Well, it might surprise a few people, but I would actually be taking the side of Rob Cross in this game. For a couple of reasons, really. I thought Dirk showed his nerves in the game against Bradley Brooks. Yeah, he showed good bottle to come back, but let's not forget, when Bradley Brooks went 2-0 up, that was a player who was making his Ali Pali debut, and he will have undoubtedly suffered from nerves. And it did look like the occasion and what he was about to achieve got to him a little bit, for me, to be honest. Yes, Dirk played very well, but he had a youngster on the rack there, And in this game, Dirk is the one with the less experience. Cross, been there, done it, world champion. Now, people will say there's a lot of question marks over Rob Cross's form. I think if you look a little bit deeper, there's evidence that Rob Cross may be a tad underestimated here. He did say a few weeks ago that he hasn't really been able to practice this season for various reasons. He lost his grandfather. That was a big distraction in his year, he said. But only the last few weeks, when he's played tournaments, has he played the proper hours for an extended period of time. He got out of his group in the Grand Slam and lost 10-9 in the knockout round. So he was Michael Smith. He was very unlucky to go out there. And then at the Players' Championship, he beat Jason Lowe in the first round 6-3, and then lost the last leg decider to Joe Cullen. Now, last leg decider, that goes another way. You could have been looking at Cross getting a run to the quarterfinal, semi-finals of that tournament, and he would have been a lot shorter price for this, because everyone would have said he's finding some form again. So I just think, looking a little bit deeper, I'd be inclined to go with Cross. I could see it going quite deep, so I would probably be quite interested in taking Cross to win 3-2. I think you could get that around the 4-1 mark, so I definitely would put that up. I couldn't put anyone off that.
Yeah, so the game to go the whole distance, the full 5 sets is 13-8, which may attract people like you, Pyman. To be honest, I know you like playing the set markets. And what did you say? Cross to win 3-2? Yes,
I think I would just go outright and play Cross at 4-1 to win 3-2, because I don't think either player will lie down. I think they'll both fancy it. They're both capable of having dips in matches. Yeah. And I just see it ebbing and flowing. One of these that goes right to the wire, and then maybe Cross's experience to get him over the line. That's how I read it.
Yeah, I'm not dead against Cross. I actually backed Cross for the Players Championship final. He was 50-1 on that occasion, and like you say, he did come out in a close match to Cullen. So I'm certainly not anti Rob Cross, but I just think it's maybe that momentum. Maybe Dirk's got the little Ali Pali nerves out of his system now. He's been to Ali Pali before, but he's not had many wins of note. He was 2-0 down and got that win in the first round. So the momentum might be with him. Like you say, it's a coin toss game. I mean, if this game was taken place a year ago, Rob Cross would probably be 2 or 3 on, 1-2 or 1-3. So, that's worth noting as well. So
Can I just say one final word on Rob Cross? I really do think that he's coming into this tournament now unfancied in a place where the last time he turned up as a relative outsider, he won the thing. Yeah. So, he's had the pressure the last couple of years of being expected to replicate that World Championship win. Now no one expects anything of him. We've seen what he could do here. There's a few signs he might be getting back towards somewhere near his better game. So I think Rob Cross, I'm happy to go with him in this game.
Yeah, and not to spend too long on this game, but it is an open section of the draw. We've said that many times. So the winner of this takes on Adam Hunt. The winner of this game will be favourite to beat Adam Hunt. That is a fact. And then further down the line, you're looking at Glenn Durrant, out of form. We've mentioned that. Adrian Lewis, hot and cold. So it's an open section of the draw. I would go as far to say the winner of this game, Cross against Van Duijvenbode, should make the quarterfinal, where probably Michael Smith awaits. So an interesting game, and one that, they will both know the draw and they'll have looked at it, and it's a big opportunity for the pair of them. The final one, I would maybe look at the over 180s in that game. The line is set at 8.5, so 9 180s or more is even money. Cross don't mind a 180, and Van Duijvenbode, like most Dutch players, certainly doesn't mind a 180. So the final game of the evening is one for the nostalgia, really. Paul Lim, who had a sensational round one win, the 67-year-old. Brilliant. He was against Luke Humphries. I get my Luke's mixed up. Yeah, Luke Humphries, 2-0 down, came back to win 3-2. Brilliant game. But yeah, he's probably got his work cut out against Dimitri Van Den Bergh. He's 7-1 Paul Lim. Van Den Bergh is the opposite price at around 1-8. This is of big interest to me because, as we know, I've backed Van Den Bergh to win his quarter. He is in the same quarter as Michael van Gerwen, but at the opposite end, if you see what I mean. I would personally be expecting a good performance from Dimitri in this game, and to put a bit of a marker down really for the rest of the tournament. There's some of the guys we describe Van Den Bergh being in the second tier of players in the outright market, alongside the likes of Michael Smith, Nathan Aspinall. The latter two names we've not seen yet, so it is an opportunity for Van Den Bergh to put a marker down, if you like, and I fancy him. I fancy Van Den Bergh for the win, as do the bookies.
Yeah, and it's not a game to get too mad on. I'm delighted to see that Paul Lim got through, even though I am a Luke Humphries fan. We touched on that game quite at length, so I won't go over that again. But what I would say in regards to this game is that Dimitri, all the evidence we've seen of Dimitri recently, he's been hitting like ton plus averages, like they're going out of fashion. He's in a really good place with his game, and don't get me wrong, he won't disrespect Paul Lim, he won't underestimate him, but he'll be delighted he's avoided Luke Humphries, a player that he's had a few good battles with himself in the past, both on the youth tour and the main tour. So, really, that is a big positive for Dimitri that he's not playing Luke Humphries, and he'll approach this game just a little bit calmer than he probably would have if he was playing Humphries, who'd had a game to warm up. That would have been a real banana skin. As it is, unless he has a real off day, he should beat Paul Lim quite comfortably here. I don't want to, dampen anyone's spirits for this game, but I think 3-0 Van Den Bergh is very, very likely here if he plays anything like his best.
Yeah, and 3-0 Van Den Bergh is favourite, as you would imagine, for a 1-8 shot. It's around the even money mark you can get a shade of odds against if you look.
Not mad about that price, but that's what I expect to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, so that wraps up our day 8 preview. 8 games with the big boys are starting to come out now and play, so there's going to be lots of content from Pieman and myself, hopefully. Shout out to Mike, Tommy and Ozzy in the comments. Keep them coming. We've had a couple of suggestions for topics for our Christmas Eve special, as we're calling it. We're all in lockdown, so we've got nothing better to do, have we, Pieman, than talk to each other about darts? I certainly haven't. Exactly. So that's what we'll be doing on Christmas Eve. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll speak soon.
Cheers, guys.